Welcome to NASCAR on NBC. I'm Kim Coon alongside Parker Kligerman. And Parker, we have wrapped up what everyone considers the greatest weekend in motorsports. However, didn't go as planned for some drivers, specifically Kyle Larson. He was the big storyline headed into the weekend as he tried to do the double, but because of weather in both Indy and Charlotte, didn't quite pan out. So, are we looking at Larson's weekend as a success, a failure, or maybe something in between?
I'm gonna say it's a success, and I'm gonna say because of the whole month, right? And even the months leading up to, since it was announced, watching him just in clips test an IndyCar was a pretty cool moment, I think, for everyone in American motorsports. We, especially those of us in NASCAR, know how talented he is. How personally, I believe he's the best driver in the world, and I put him up against Max Verstappen any day. Um, I wanted the other side of the American motorsports, the open wheel side, to see how good he is. And obviously the dirt world knows how good he is. And I think he showed it right through the whole month. And since he's stepped into an Indy car, never putting a wheel wrong in a lot of respects, even if he did, he caught those. He had a big save in practice, which I thought was incredible. Because that's so hard to do in those cars. And in the race, up until his mistake, he was doing exactly what he needed to do and had himself in a position to be in the top five and maybe in the conversation of being a part of those slingshot passes we saw at the end. So I think in terms of a jumping into a 240 mile per hour Indy car at Indy, he did an excellent job. Yes, is it unfortunate that he didn't get back here to be in the stock car on time and obviously race in the 600? I mean, that's a huge shame. And I thought it was so cool watching him helicopter out of Indy, and then they had the tracker of him in his jet, and then in the helicopter again, like he was the president of the United States in a lot of respects, or maybe like the space shuttle coming into to land. I thought that was so cool. So I also think it just had so many of us who love motorsports paying attention to it all, and even more so than ever before, right? And so, in that respect, to me, it was really cool. I hope he tries to do it again. I know logistically it's a bit of a nightmare, and obviously, there's a lot of discussion around waivers and if he can still run for a championship on the driver's side, and what should and shouldn't happen there. But I just, as a fan, I thought it was so badass, and he's such a hell of a talent. I hope he gets more chances to do stuff like that.
I agree. I hope we see him back at least for next year to actually complete the double. Really impressed with everything he was able to do in the month of May. But as we talk weather impact in Indy, there was also weather impacting Charlotte. The Coke 600 had issues of its own. Ultimately, it went to only 249 laps of the 400 scheduled laps. Christopher Bell taking home the hardware. Now, he did lead a race high 90 laps. It was his second win of the season, but up until this weekend, he's had a dismal handful of weeks. Was this a product of circumstance in that the race ended early, or are we seeing a turnaround from the 20 team?
Well, I think having a fast race car is never an accident, right? And they've had very fast race cars and a lot of speed at times this season. It's just not been able to all come together for the finishes for the 20 car. And I know people have sort of harped on them and have been down on the 20 team, and I find that a little unfounded because I think there's some things that have been out of their control, and therefore, what we saw the other night is not surprising to me to see from Christopher Bell at a tricky racetrack that's hot and a humid night, and the transition from day to night at the 600 that you do, even that first portion. They seem to be making all the right moves and all the right calls and had the car in the right position. He executed as a driver. And so, yeah, when the rain fell, they were in that position because they did everything right. And I think, it's funny. People will maybe go, if they start to go on a string of great finishes, will be like, oh, look, they turned it all around and it was the win. And it is weird in this sport, even though you could be the fastest car every week and not have a finish, you you can win and you have the speed to win. Until you do it, there's just this weird thing, and I don't know what it is psychologically, that until you really prove it to yourself, you prove it to your team, it eats away at you. And from here on out, even though it's a rain affected win and that sort of thing, it could, just give them that little extra boost of confidence that a team like this needs to, to utilize the speed they have each week that we've seen and have, a string of great finishes. But in this sport, I think often we put so much stock in finishes when, it's because it's hard to judge performance. Stage points have helped in that respect, but it's definitely, it's funny, even when we as competitors will be like, hey, we're going to focus on performance, stage points, how fast were we, that sort of thing, those metrics. there's nothing like getting a trophy and a checkered flag. And I can tell you from my own experience right now in the Xfinity Series, having not won yet in 40 something races with this team, we know we can do it, but it's just, there's something weird until you do it that changes when you actually do.
Okay, as we talk trophies and winless drivers who need to turn things around, one that comes to mind is Kyle Busch. We are officially in the second half of the regular season for the Cup Series. KB, he needs an uptick in performance. Now we look at Gateway, his past performance. He won last year. The first year the Cup Series was there, he finished second. Is this an opportunity race for Kyle Busch?
I think when we talk about performance, yes, this is a race team that needs performance, and they need a lot of metrics to turn around. And I can tell you, because the Richard Childress Racing Shop is literally behind my shoulder here, as I see the Big Machine Racing Shop. They are hard at work and trying to figure this out and turn things around. And Kyle was just in our debrief meeting for the Xfinity Series because he ran in that 33 car. And I can tell you, listening to his feedback for 45 minutes, whatever they're paying that guy, it's worth it. And I even said that to some of their top brass because he's incredible and his feedback is amazing. And if there's anyone out there that can help Richard Childress Racing turn this ship around at the Cup level, I think it is him. And what we saw out of him last year was not a fluke. I think they can get back there, but I can tell you, just being a fly on the wall over here, there is a lot of investments and decision making and effort going into trying to create more performance out of those race cars from Richard Childress Racing, the Cup side. And they've got, Kyle as a driver has not forgotten how to drive. I assure you that. So I can say that with utmost confidence. The guy is as good as ever. I think, they've just got to continue to work on the performance of the race car. They've obviously had pit stop issues this year, which they've continued to work on and throw resources at. So this is why he's here, though. When you think back to when he leaves Joe Gibbs Racing and he goes to Richard Childress Racing and people wonder, well, how's that going to work? This is why. What he did last year, I think put them to it, showed people the potential. And now as they go through this rough patch, his full value will come to the front when he's able to help them turn this around and get back to the front and become, a playoff capable race team and be competitive in the playoffs. So I think Gateway is as good a chance as ever right now because, maybe they have a slightly more confidence, but mostly because this has been a months-long effort for this whole organization to try and turn around.
Kyle Busch looking to win this weekend. His last one actually was Gateway last year. That was 35 races ago. I think a lot of people also be looking at Joey Logano. Yes, he won the All-Star race, but still looking for his first win this season and won the first Gateway race. Parker, thank you so much for the insight, and we can't wait to see what the Cup Series can do at Worldwide Technology Raceway this weekend.
Hi, I'm Parker Kligerman. For more access like this from Pit Road, be sure to click and subscribe to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube channel.